Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's August 18th, 2023. I got 1/10 of an inch of rain over the last 24 hours, and I've been working a little bit on an area where there were stone walls. So right now I'm standing by pond 3. So this is pond 3, the back side of it, the south side of it. There's an island there in the center. Lots of duckweed on the surface of this, and this is a pretty deep pond. We've had this in here probably 30 years now, but I want to talk a little bit about water and a little bit about stone walls. So there's remnants of a stone wall still here. You can see these trees are somewhat on top of a stone wall. I had mulched around this area and all, and recently I had posted a video about the honey hut, and there it is over there. And that honey hut is built on an area where old stone wall was. So back in the 17 and 1800s, this area was like most of New England and New York, was cleared. The stump walls were put in first, then stone walls were put in by the settlers, and these areas were farmed. And the soils were pretty much depleted, and this is all glacial deposits around here. And so I was watching a video this morning with Thea on how these stone walls were built. 2 strong people and a team of oxen could build about 10 foot of stone wall per day, and those farmers were pretty sturdy people. And so there was a big stone wall, probably 6 foot wide, going right across the other end of the property where their stone walls were there as well. And I took out some more stone wall here, probably 15 years ago, and expanded the pond here a little bit. And the stone wall went right through here as well. So the stone wall continued up here, and the stone wall went in this direction as well, went right up to the road. And if you've seen in the videos where the second and third food forests are, and the swale where I've been pruning the blue spruce trees up there, there's a big tree that has multiple stems coming up, multiple trunks. Well, that was on a stone wall. So that whole stone wall was removed probably about 13 years ago, 12, 13, maybe about 11, 12 years ago. And then over the last 2 years, I've been removing a stone wall going up in this direction, and there's the foundations up there that we talked about in the past. And last year, right about where so the stone wall, I ended up leaving some of the stone base here because the hulk started sinking. So although there are many functions for the stone walls, I believe that there's a vein that feeds a well that takes care of the of what was 3 different foundations up in that area up there. And I'm not going to go up there now, but if there's questions about it, I'll always make another video about it. But the stone wall extended from the foundation right straight down through here, down alongside, well, through part of this, down through the honey hut and over there, and the other stone wall up here. And first off, I'm just amazed by how much effort was put into these stone walls. These are massive stone walls, and to think that these whole areas were farmed years ago, they came in and cleared areas like this, or even more heavily forested. They'd girdle the trees just like a beaver girdles them. They take all the bark off around the base there, then ultimately take the tree down a couple years later after it dried, so they could use that timber for everything that they needed. And then they'd wait several years and dig out those stumps, and those stumps with the oxen would get dragged to the area where the stone wall would go eventually. and that would separate the pastures or the where the farmers' fields or property lines. And this whole property has stone, or did have stone walls every place. So 2 days ago I dug another Hugelkultur pit right over there, put lots of the woody debris in there, but also took a lot of the stone that was in here that I left over here and put into that area. But I think that there's a vein that comes right down in this area, and there's sandy areas, so I just dug another pit there yesterday. But this whole area, we got over 24 hours, we got 1/10 of an inch of water. And this is all nice and wet here. And when I buried the stone wall that was in here a few years ago, it was a big sandy location, and it gradually weeped water in. But this is the one pond, pond 3, that always stays pretty much full. Does it go down a little bit? Yes, it does. So yesterday I came over here. This is a low spot. Now again, the property slopes down in this direction, continues to slope down to where the pond there is, and it slopes further down with a honey hut on the other side and off our property. But as you can see, some of the water is, we only got maybe 5/100ths of an inch over the last 12 hours. So that's how much water is gradually weeping into this area. So I have 3 other places that I'm going to end up digging ponds that I think are also probably sandy and all. So what I did do is I came in, there's a little bit of the subsoil there, but took the topsoil, put it over here, took the sandy material here. Yes, there's some stone in it, but not bony like the rest of the property. And then I'm going to gather up a lot of the trees that are in the forest floor here and get those put in here. And that will be a nice, not only will it be soil, but it'll also be a nutrient-rich area, and it will allow much more water to get sequestered in this area for times of drought. And hopefully that will continue to feed right over here to pond 3, which feeds into the rest of the pond systems. So I'm not tied into that vein that I think is under that stone, what was a stone wall, but we're close enough to it and there's enough sand here, it will wick its way down into there here. And with more woody material in here, that'll be just fine for that. But it's hard to see, you can't see with the camera here, but there's slight weeping of water coming from the sides, both sides there. So that's one of the things I'm going to do today. I did pull up the stumps from where I had pruned those dead trees and chopped those up, the blue spruces up front. So I use Mini-Me with a grapple, go get those materials, pick up some of the material around in here as well. I got the Elon here to be able to use a couple of the chainsaws. Sorry about the camera here. And chop up some of the wood that's laying around that won't fit in here, some of those logs and all. So that's one of the things I'm going to work on today. I just need to be outside in decent weather, enjoying life. And I just, I'm always fascinated by what people did years ago when times were tough. And sometimes I think we're pretty spoiled. Those folks really worked their tails off, and they eventually abandoned these areas because the soils were depleted. The equipment, the machinery that was being developed, these stone walls were right in the way. It interfered. The ground was too rocky. And so people, like neighbors around here, just don't think it's possible to grow anything on all this bony gravel here. And we're doing pretty good. So I'm going to move on now and get some work done. That's it, camera. Well, it's the next day. We got some rain yesterday, not lots of rain. But I worked with Mini-Me, and then I ended up using Elon here to take down a couple of windowmakers. And you can see the tracks are just coated with mud in here. And this is a very unusual August for us. Usually we're in a nice drought, not a nice drought, but now we're having so much more coolness and rain, unlike other parts of the country which are suffering from their fires and hurricanes and excessive heat. So here's where I'm at so far with this Hugelkultur pit, and so it's going okay. I was able, so one of the things we have around here we have so many dead ash trees, and there's several right here just within a few feet of where I'm standing now, and that's mostly what's in this Hugelkultur pit. And so we have widowmakers with all of these dead trees, and some of the I've got a couple of widowmaker maples too, where the tops have blown over, and they're hangers. They're hung up in other trees. Well, when I was over here a few days ago, sorry about that darn camera, working over here and reopening, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, reopening this area here, which was a stone wall, which has the water vein underground stream here. One of the things I noticed was like a triple widowmaker. So we have three different ash trees. So these are right here. These are all really good sized ash trees. There's a couple more dead ones right here. There's a dead one here. Here's one right in front of me here. There's one there. There's several more up in this area as well. But these ones had all tipped over, and not tipped over, they had all been hung up on one tree right there. And then we had all of these tops, all these are tops right in here, that were also hung up there in the canopy. So I was able to come over here after clearing out some of this area on the other side of this Hugelkultur pit and clean up a lot of the smaller brush and small trees that were up in this area. I was able to see the base of, I guess it's this one here. I can't remember which one. It might be, I think it's actually this one here. So this is, a good 65, 70 feet to the point where it broke off there, and then another 30 foot up over there. But its root ball was right here, and it had long been dead. That was so easy to pop out of there. But this was leaning right up against that one. And the other ones were all in there. Any other direction I would have come in was dangerous, where they could have come down on me. But since they were all leaning in that way, and this one was the underside, one of the first ones that had died and tipped over in that direction, I was able to grab a hold of the base of it and keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it and pulling it. Then all of the rest of these started coming down, with the exception of just a couple more. There's a couple more maples that are still broken and leaning here, and that was one of the tops that was up in there. So that was a scary one, but it ended up coming out pretty darn nicely. And then I came in here and cleaned up a little bit more around here. Mini-me with that grapple was really, really great. Here's another hole from a dead root ball. You could see it really didn't take much. I just grab a hold of it and pull it right out. And most of those are in the pit now. So we're making progress, but it's so muddy over here. And unfortunately I took out a couple of nice straight maples, but they were just so tight up against other trees. So these end up being trouble in the future if I don't get rid of those maples. And that's not a root sucker, it's just you know, just a seed that took off right next to another one. So it's kind of crazy here. But believe it or not, this was just completely congested with dead trees. And I've got them jam-packed down into here right now. And it's so handy having Mini-Me that I can get in between a lot of these trees in the forest here and get the work done. And again, that's uphill, slopes down into this area, and that's pond 3 over there. So I was going to show some time lapse and all that with the whole progress here, but it was raining, I was cold, I was soaking wet, and that's just life. So today is another day entirely. We're going to have some rain this morning. It's sprinkling right now, but this afternoon it might dry up. And today we have an adventure, which you'll hear about later. Well, that's it for today's video. I hope you found it of some value. We avoided getting injured by that triple guillotine or widowmaker over there. That was a big deal, being able to get that down yesterday. It turned out fantastic. One of the ones I thought would be the toughest, it ended up being much easier than I had actually thought. So it worked out rather serendipitous. Everybody stay safe, take good care of yourselves, and think about the future. The weather, the climate, things are changing. Stay prepared. Take care now. Bye-bye.